the future of design and Afrocentrism, the movement of Afrocentrism in Nigeria, Africa, and across the globe. My early thoughts of what I thought Afrocentrism was maybe 10 years ago was more about like cultural adaptation. With when I was going through university and everything, I my perception of it was, how do I mimic some of the things that occur, that our ancestors have made or created, and maybe instruments or arts and all, and how can we adapt it in our structure, which led me to do this design, which is a talking drum design, which I later on moved to use for my MSc thesis on how to merge, that is cultural adaptation and green design. So, but I later came across a quote by architect Farida, which says that the building of space is the building of community. The two are not interchangeable, so we must begin to approach design this way as architects. So instead of thinking of Afrocentric design as just the mimicry of what exists, is more about how do we bring people together to understand what is shared amongst us and what we have in common, uniting the people and celebrating our history, our rich history, and what our culture, what binds every one of us together as Nigerians, Africans, and as a people. So why does this topic matter? We are at a crossroad between our heritage and the future. Right now, there's a wave of, should I say, Afro identity, our Afro beats, our clothes, and all. There's a wave that's coming. So it matters now because technology is also on the rise, and I believe every one of us has gotten an introduction into some of the latest technologies that are coming in, artificial intelligence and VR and all that, and seeing how technology is moving so fast. So it is our role now as architects, as designers, to plug into this wave to make sure that everything that is building up right now, the consciousness of the Africa, that we're able to plug it into this movement of tech and be able to move our culture forward and be ready to be relevant for now and in the future. So Africa's architectural voice is powerful and is emerging on the global stage, and it is our role now to plug it in, our culture and the aesthetics and the spirit of it, into our modern built environment. We are seeing how a lot of buildings now are becoming a bit more, should I say, simplistic or minimalist and all that. So our role is not to shrink back and to give the stage up like that, because if we don't plug in, we'll allow our culture to die, we'll allow our long history and ancestry to fade away, and I have a feeling it will create a less connected world, where people now see everything as lifeless, should I say, to use the term. Sir David Ajayi, which is a Ghanaian British architect, he spoke about this, and he said structures should be emotive. Structures should form our psyche. It should provoke something in us. When we look at buildings, when we look at our built environment, it is important for us to feel something. We see a lot of trends in like the mental health of people, the society, looking at the society from different perspectives in that light, how people relate or communicate with each other, and a lot of people have come to a consensus that there seems to be some kind of industrialization of our community that is causing that is causing is sort of lifelessness. When people wake up, they don't feel connected to something or something greater and all. So how do we envision Afrocentric design through futuristic technologies? This is one of the quotes that I like from Dr. Diop, which was talking about how we were actually the ones that invented architecture as Africans. So when we're talking about the topic, how we envision Afrocentric design through futuristic technologies, our designs have always been futuristic. We have always had the thought of, had these unique thoughts throughout the African continent of how to adapt our architecture to different forms and different methods of construction. Many of these have been lost over time somehow, maybe due to colonialism, due to degradation and all, and poor maintenance. But our designs and our architecture has always been futuristic in nature. For example, the Nubian vaults, which are made of stamped concrete and clay, and how they've been able to adapt this technology, this material to create very unique forms. So, but we've been given new tools, and like AI, parametric design, VR, 3D printing, and many others to allow us to reimagine those same principles of African architecture, ways of how we've been able to use the materials that we have, locally sourced materials, to our architecture, and how do we now use these new tools, merge it together with old techniques to be able to produce the architecture of the future for Africa. So this leads to our next segment, which is the role of AI and digital tools in preserving cultural identity. So we have our old techniques and methods that have been passed down from generation, and we have new tools. Now we have AI, we have the digital tools. So how do we merge them? How do we use them to preserve our cultural identity? So these tools now that are available to us, it is important for all of us as architects, as designers, as creators to use these tools that are available to help increase our knowledge, to help us understand the different languages that have been passed down, some of the symbols, help in research, help in design, and to help, this will in turn help us to understand even more, because what we have now is a system where the world is growing so fast, but the knowledge base of the past is not being moved as quickly as possible to catch up with how much the population is increasing. So we have these tools now, and it is they are very helpful in research, they are very helpful in creating an awareness and excitement towards how we can adapt our modern style of architecture to our culture. So, but one note of caution is that AI carries biases that, which is the person who trained the technology who is in control of what some of this tech is able to produce and able to teach and able to help with. So it is our job now to create our own data sets, to create bodies, to come together as a community, to be able to train these technologies, to be able to recognize to feed these technologies, to be able to create more realistic, to create much vaster, to teach better, basically. That's what I'm trying to say, and help us to understand our culture better. So whatever we can do to come together to train these AI technologies will help moving forward. So what's next? What's next for African spaces? African spaces will see using this technology, African spaces will see a resurgence of culturally relevant, sustainable, and green design. So how we use these technologies will help us to create eco-friendly design using locally sourced materials, rammed earth, bamboo, recycled elements to help us to adapt our structures and adapt our built environment to be more eco-friendly, to be more culturally relevant and sensitive, and in the end create a better built scape or environment around us. Yes, so this design, like for example the Eastgate Center in Zimbabwe, which is on ground now, it mimics the termite mode, passive cooling system, and it is one of those examples we can look at to help educate our use of technology, modern tools and techniques, and how we can adapt it to our culture, adapt it to our culture. Yes. So practical application. So for this session today, I will focus a little bit more on AI and how we can prompt it to create images that can communicate some of the ideas that we hold as people in this Afrocentric, should I say, environments now, in this consciousness that we have, using the CPDI 5 pillars of Afrocentric architecture. So the CPDI 5 pillars of Afrocentric architecture are culture and tradition, aesthetics and form, spiritual nature, local materials, and community engagement. I feel this is a very well-rounded core for Afrocentric architecture, and we're going to use it to educate how we use AI to create images and to create forms, different forms of architecture, and the use of AI. Yes. So we have the first pillar, culture and tradition. The goal of this is how culture and tradition, what we want AI to do. The goal is to how it can encode heritage, language, craft, and rituals into how we can encode this into the prompts. So I have a template here that I feel I will have a resource book that will be shared later on how we can prompt AI to do this. So, but the template simply needs us to impute the building type, the country, the cultural reference, and whatever social practice that we want. Then how we can, once we complete this template, we'll be able to come up with images that are specific to what the results that we want. So the example that I have here using this template is the design of a civic pavilion in Enugu that honors Igbo, Uli, and Nsibidi motifs with communal kola nut circle and storytelling alcoves, shaded courtyards, cross ventilation, realistic daylighting render, and all that. It can be read on the screen. So when you put this into image generating software like or platforms like Midjourney, we have Google Labs Image FX, and some other, you get some stunning results that are close to something that can be used. So after using this example, we had results like this. We have this like courtyard and the Igbo Uli motifs on the wall and on the facade as well. So we move to the second pillar, aesthetics and form. When we use the same template to create prompts for our artificial intelligence to generate images, we have let's say examples like this for our aesthetics. That's the Kante coded facade rhythms. So you see that AI will not it's based on what you prompt that it will give the results. And if we can fix two things, which is the data set and what AI understands about some of these cultures, and educating it and training the technology, and prompting properly, we'll be able to create stunning results that inspire, that give honor to the traditions of the past, and also help us to fast track the conceptualization of our modern space and our built environment with some of these images and some of that can come out of the generation. So the spiritual nature, and I try this example for the rest of the other pillars. And for example, this one, I used the Oshun Festival, which traditionally will look like this, where a crowd of people go to the river, they go to celebrate the god Oshun during the festival and all. And using the prompting and image generation technology, AI technology, it conceptualized something where we will have better viewing of the event by people, and conceptualized balconies, but still open to the sky. And also, depending on what you prompt it, it will definitely come up with ideas for one to be able to better our traditions and make it more practical or more adapted to our modern time. So for pillar 4, local materials, I full of makoko using bamboo lattice and timber and all, which has already been made. Actually, the floating school used some of this material. So, but to conceptualize a library that is made of these materials and is flood resistant, the image generation technology gave us concepts like this that are exciting, that can help us to appreciate the use of these materials within those contexts. So the pillar 5, community engagement, we have this template, which is the modern circular community hub in Oshodi. We have like maker shed, women cooking, co-op cooking, and some of the other terms that we've used. Then we have these results from the tech. It is conceptualized exactly as we prompted, a circular community space where people sell, where people get to cook together, share together, and sell within the central part of Oshodi. Yes, so that's that. So in trying to combine all 5 of them into a few concepts, this was what the technology created based on what I was prompting it to do, using the Igbo Uli patterns, using the facade forms and the community approach, and this some exciting conceptualizations. So AI, as we know, is a tool. So based on the user and the prompter of the tool, will be able to generate or get the results that we can either use practically or use to excite people coming in, looking in. These are just some other generations. So in conclusion, building tomorrow's Africa today, let's embrace these tools that are at our disposal, and let's continue to press forward with Afrocentric and Afrofuturistic architecture, because this is the future. This is what our kids will appreciate when, if we pull off. This is what the elders of old will appreciate. Should I say appreciate? Will also, so our culture, our land, our continent will be appreciated if we as architects, we as designers are able to use locally sourced materials, locally sourced forms, communicate the patterns, communicate the history of our people and on our continent through our designs, honoring our heritage, but embracing innovation as well, so that it is also relevant to the context of our time and the future. Thank you. Let's work together to elevate people, our people, culture, and our planet through meaningful design. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Architect Favour. That was a very, very, very beautiful presentation. And now we would like to add in welcome questions and contributions and thoughts into, or rather, let's begin the interactive session. Before you joined, a lot of different people dropped their thoughts on what they were expecting, and I can see from what you have presented today that a lot of things that people were even expecting, you have actually even talked about them and covered them. So I would love to hear from Madly first, then I'll drop my own thoughts before we actually open the floor totally to everybody's thoughts.
Okay, thanks Yuki, and thanks Architect Azoji for a very enlightening presentation. I was really looking forward to seeing what you had for us today. And it was very beautiful how you incorporated the CPDI Africa 5 elements to guide you in your prompting in AI. And also interesting to see what came out of it. I thoroughly enjoyed the one on spirituality. And yes, and I guess you can scroll back to some of those images. I loved how you showed the people at the river. This right here was very powerful. You can go back to the original image, the one before this. Yeah, really powerful seeing us in our natural element at the water side, engaging spiritually, where nature was our architecture. Right? They're outside, but they're framed by the water, by the vegetation, the trees there. And then you put that into AI and it comes up with architecture, but still captures the essence. You can go to the next slide. Still captures the essence. And there's light. I don't see as much vegetation, but I guess I would just include more prompting. But the water, the light, and the people, it still feels very organic, even though they are enclosed. Now we have architecture, and originally we didn't have. The landscape was the architecture itself. But I like to see that AI was able to achieve something because it still feels very spiritual. It still does. That water element still feels very spiritual. I liked your take on community engagement. On culture, you kept it real with the courtyards, aesthetics, we saw that. Community engagement, I also loved that take on it. So let me not talk too much more. I appreciate this, and I really do want to learn more how you really put those proper prompts in there to get something that's, close to what I would hope and believe Africans will agree as our own true Afrocentric architecture. Because AI can spit out what technology may define as Afrocentric, but do we as Africans, do we agree that it has translated our identity soulfully, right? Appropriately. So very good. I'll stop here and look forward to hearing your comments and other comments as well. Thank you so much for this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we open the floor, I just want to give very straightforward thoughts. I like how you even closed and sort of how you began it got me thinking of the African concept of time. There's a scholar in BT, and he actually drops very interesting points concerning time. And I think it comes to play in our discussion today because we are talking about futuristic Afrocentric architecture. But according to his own statements, and I actually even believe that, he says we do not actually move forward in time, rather time moves backwards into us, or rather over and through us. And it's very interesting. Further goes on to say that the future actually is just a shadow. It doesn't exist. It's not part of time until it comes to the present and then flows into the past, which is Zamani. And when you think about, well, at the end of the day, what that actually just tells us really is that the African concept of time is about what is happening. What is happening now, what is happening in the immediate next now, and what has already happened. That's how we interpret time. And then you're like, oh, when you bring that into this discussion today, we can't actually make Afrocentric futuristic architecture without considering Afrocentric nowistic, excuse me, but the presentistic, I don't know why I'm forcing this, but you can't consider futuristic Afrocentric architecture without present Afrocentric architecture. You have to build up on something. So everything that we are discussing today actually has to start with now. Has to start with today. Has to start with whatever we create now, and then we can build up on it. So these tools are tools of today, not tools of tomorrow. They are tools of today to create today, so that tomorrow we can be able to proceed to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I agree. Yes, these are tools for now. Technology moves so fast. We have to make sure that our present technology catches up to and is educated on our past, so that we're not left behind. When new emerging technology comes along, most of the time they'll be plugged into our present day technology. And if our present day technology is not trained and educated on our culture, our heritage, our continent, it will be left behind. So thank you very much for that. Nowistic. I would need to add that term to my vocabulary. Nowistic Afrocentric architecture.
So yes, now we have an open floor. Please, if you have your questions, you could indicate or you could drop it in the chat, and our very illustrious, our very awesome session host today would take his time out to educate us.
Okay, Abraham has his hand up.
Abraham. Unmute and ask.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening, CP. Good evening, Nnamdi. Also Favour. Well, this lecture came at a very timely time because myself, I have just entered into the mission of this Afrocentric sustainability and preserving our own story. And I'm so happy that I joined this session. It was even shared by a friend because I spoke with him about where I'm heading out. Yeah, and I'm happy to see that I'm not alone, and especially with the AI technology, I had to even subscribe to Midjourney because of this. I also started a series myself. I'm happy to see that you have actually started getting the result when it comes to the style of the prompting. I don't know. I checked your LinkedIn page and wow, I'm just mouth dropped because the kind of interpretation I'm seeing there are very impressive, honestly, and I'm happy that I've gotten to connect with you. Please connect back. My question is, how do we get to, because Afrocentric and estate is not just with the creator. How do you do your own how do you conduct your research your own self in terms of what you want to share? Just like you indicated, the people who invented the tools, they are biased, because they can only build from their interest. So how do we get to find more histories and projects to talk about? Personally, I'm collaborating with a friend who have been interested in this silent heritage. So she's been writing some reports about some culture, beginning with my own hometown, which is Okrika, and I'm collaborating with her to get all her knowledge or what she found and translate this thing into industrial product and architectural interpretation. But aside from this approach of me collaborating with an individual, what are the other ways we can find our history so that we can interpret them in modern designs and solutions?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Architect Favour, before you respond, I think there's a similar question on the chat, so I think we could combine the two together. So he's asking about, this is Tim Ojoibuku, and he's asking about teaching the data sets of the AI tools. So I think it goes hand in hand with research. So after we research, how do we put that data into the AI so that we can, have better results?
Okay, I think I'll start with the first question. I think, so for educating ourselves and doing research, I believe the most important way is to connect with our culture first, our own roots first. So we have parents, grandparents, relatives, a hometown where we grew up, and trying to understand what went on in the past there through our own personal inquisitive minds, let's say. So asking questions, visiting some of these places, if some of all these sites are still there, and increasing our exposure generally in the physical space, let's say. So then checking resources that are available, books that have been written by people that have come through that place. I know we have so many niche cultures and dialects and places like that, so some of them have not been covered in terms of books and resources. So I think the most important one is to try to connect with our own people, or connect with a people that we find of interest within Nigeria, Africa, and most times the best way is to go physically, take notes, take pictures, ask questions. Many of these people are willing to share the culture with you, with us, and generally I think that is the best way we can really educate ourselves on our culture, is to have an open mind, have interest, and the interest moves us to be able to go to these places and ask and see for ourselves. Then looking for resources available online. Books have been written generally on Afrocentric architecture, on our culture, and in general, a lot of those ones in general, but some of the more specific ones will have to be dug up. And in terms of training the AI, it is a collaborative effort. So as we make a movement out of this and make it as practical as possible, we need a collaborative effort to gather some of this information, maybe have platforms, websites, resource packs that share some of these things. So it ties to the first one, as one goes around asking questions, being a journalist in your own right, creating awareness of this and putting it together in, should I say, resource packs, or that people can use later to educate the tech. And once some of all these things are widespread, they're on the internet, most of the time they have no choice than to use these resources to train the AI to come up with, because the thing is, our silence is what has caused that's caused the technology, that's what has caused the technology not to have as much knowledge as that is needed. So some of these people, they are the people that make these technologies that train the AI, their profits, they're thinking about their profit, they're thinking about making money, and they don't want to use the memory space for this tech, and there is no demand. So we increase the demand and create a lot more awareness about our culture, some of the more dialects and more niche, should I say, traditions and so on. And I think the technology will meet up. And I know there are many people into tech and into AI, even if they are not there, educating ourselves on artificial intelligence and how we can create some of these platforms ourselves also will definitely help. So that's where my latest interest is now, which is learning the back end of some of these tools and how to create some of these platforms ourselves, maybe to be more specific to the African continent, or to be serve general purpose but well educated on the different cultures and traditions on the continent. I don't know if this answers your question.
Thank you. That was...
Did we lose him? Okay, while he's coming back, while Yuki's coming back, yes, very good questions and very detailed answer. I'd like to add some on that, but we have two other hands up. Let's hear from them. And I'd like to say something about that answer as well. Mohammed Lawal, your hand is up, if we can hear from you.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
It's been a very interesting talk so far. It's actually morning here because I'm joining from Suzhou in China, so it's around 2 a.m. now. But yeah, well done, Favour, Architect Favour. That was a really interesting presentation. Like Madeleine said, the way you incorporated the CPDI principles was very thoughtful. I actually got to see some of your presentations on LinkedIn. I think you are doing a very fantastic job promoting some of these visualizations and showing how AI can be used to really break the borders of our imaginations when it comes to creativity in architecture, and incorporating these African cultural elements and historical elements. And I think, which, to your credit, it's well deserved. You've been getting positive reactions from those promotions. My question is more bordering towards the practical side of this, in terms of how do we start bringing these kinds of imaginaries to realities. I'm just trying to draw from your experience so far, because I think you're one of the very influential voices in this space, which is a very niche new space in the time of AI, that you are really trying to make the best use of it for African architecture. Have you had some kind of challenges, or how do you foresee the prospects of bringing this kind of imaginaries to realities? Have you had some conversations with other stakeholders that can help in making it possible? For example, the actual developers, or to policymakers, or even to residents? And based on those conversations, or based on your experience so far, would you mind just speaking about the possibilities of actually beginning to move these things from ideas to actual buildings into our built environments?
Okay, thank you. That's a good question, and a question that has been reoccurring as I've gone through this journey of understanding Afrocentrism and Afrocentric architecture. So I think I'll start with the barrier. I think the biggest barrier per se is more about in the minds of people, and trying to shift the understanding of our built space from what it is and how it is already moving to more of what we envision it could be. So there's this thought about Afrocentric architecture, about incorporating our tradition and spirituality into our design, that people sometimes tend towards looking at it as fetish, or something as maybe in some areas as not as luxury. So using rammed concrete or stampcrete and some of clay or wood, or bamboo as not as so it's more about the mind, how we can shift the mind. So I think but in terms of practicality, how to build some of these things, we have already been empowered as human beings to be able to put our minds at something and be able to tackle it and be able to bring it to life. So that's not where I see the biggest challenge. So most of my efforts trying to push some of these ideas to some of the clients that I've worked with so far is not being moved as it has been received more in, let's say, in theory. Yes. So I focus a lot more of my effort on promoting Afrocentric design, trying to put it out there that some of these things are beautiful, a lot of these things are rich in culture and can be adapted to our modern space, so that if we have more effort towards this, we can create more like a strong movement that shifts the mind of people towards putting more effort into doing some of these things. So I think that is how I look at it, and I think it is more of how do we get the minds of people moving in the direction of Afrocentric architecture, and recognizing that some of these things are practical because some of them have been made, the use of bamboo to create structure, use of stamped concrete and all that. And also getting the artisans, yes, the skills and artisan, within the market now have been over the years moved in the direction of concrete blocks and use of maybe metal and all that because of the industrial move and everything. So, but once there is a demand, some of these skill sets, we will find out that they are also within us, and there are things that we can do. There are things that we can achieve. The skills are already around. It's more about the barrier of our minds. How do we break this mold and get more practical examples built and celebrated online, in person and all. So I don't know what you think about this answer. So
thank you, Favour. Thank you, Favour. That's another really good question from Town Planner Lawal. The challenge really has been to convince the clients that it's good, it's beautiful, it's not too spiritually overloaded. They have to make peace with the building materials. So a lot of the work in Afrocentric architecture is definitely trying to work on the clients. So we do need help from our policymakers and professionals, and of course our schools. But thank you for that wonderful question and the answer. We'll come back to more of that. We have 2 more hands up. Let's try and hear from everybody, and then we can come back around. Elaine, Joseph, you probably have a question.
Could we get the 2 questions together?
Yeah, I actually do. Favour, look, thank you for this presentation. I really appreciate it. I certainly did learn something.
Sorry.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. So, I'm not going to
Yes,
take too much. I'm not going to take too much time because I know time is of the essence. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a technology buff. Therefore, AI is pretty new. A couple of weeks ago, my brother was telling me about using it for some of the Afrocentric, designs that I tend to come up with. So if my question more so is, if you already have a preconceived notion, I'm asking this for myself in context of the fact that I don't know how to do prompts that well. If I already have a preconceived notion of an interior design that I want to go with, whether it's putting this prompt through ChatGPT, as I think you said Midjourney, are we talking about putting sentences or paragraphs to really break it down in light of this bias that, AI already has towards African knowledge? What's the steps? Is it just putting those paragraphs in to just personify to the system what you're looking to do, just so it could help you out some more?
Yes.
Before you proceed, I think we should get the other question too, because again, time is of the essence, so you answer everything at once.
Okay, I'll just write that down.
Yeah. So, Architect Wendy, do you ask your question so he takes everything together?
I was not looking forward to ask the question, but I will just contribute a bit. I will try to be as fast as I can. I don't like questions more because I believe in studying, not learning. Obviously, there are a lot of things that I need to research after here, and it's only after then that I can ask personal questions so that I can get up to speed. But I think in the slide he showed all of us here, most of those buildings are public buildings that will demand a lot of funding and permissions to build, and you have to go through panels or committee and as it is, which will take a while. And to be honest, our predecessors have not really done well. They were complacent. I'm not pointing fingers, but many of the architects I know that are of age, they don't even know how to use CAD. So the whole burden is now on us, on people like Architect Favour and the like mind of us that are here to start from the onset to bring this awareness. It is more or less like a fight that is psychological, because most of our people tend to not like our culture, things that have to do with that, because you like the copycat of the Western life. And maybe because they have not really upgraded or bring you forward to this new status where we find ourselves. So I think the work Architect Favour and all of us here are doing is something that is commendable. We should not be discouraged. It's going to be a difficult task. I'm suggesting, instead of starting with big projects like that, if you have any chance that you are commissioned to do small projects like houses and residential houses small, you should try to put in this element. And as such, you can not only have designs that are on paper, but you can have actual built spaces that you can send people there to take a look for some backup. So I think that will help us a lot. Should I continue? I really like to say one more thing before we go.
Thank you very much. Okay. Then sure, very quickly, so that you can respond to everything.
Okay. So I think also that the AI is a tool at our disposal, and I believe AI learns in both the journalists that bring in the information, as you even use it, it also learns. So I think it is our duty to also sensitize our fellow architects that actually what can be made easier and better here, so that as we put in the prompt, the AI will also learn from the prompt. So if many architects like us are now using these tools, I believe in the coming years, tools will also learn and will come up to speed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Architect Favour.
Yes, that's a wonderful contribution, and it's very true. Starting small is essential as well. Small projects can incorporate some of the techniques, some of the material, and use it as proof of concept that some of these things work and are very much relevant in our build space. So for the question by Joseph, I think, yes. So the best way to prompt these AI systems is by using, let's say, anchors. Some of these anchors are specific languages about what you want, the specific tribe. If you, like you mentioned, and we've all said here, is there are biases that exist, and some of these systems are not already trained on this. So some of the ways I bypass some of these is to get pictures of these things and work with multiple of these AI tools to be able to let's use ChatGPT as an example. If you have pictures of the Igbo art and how they have built how the culture works and everything. If you have different pictures of that, for example, you can put it into the chatbots like ChatGPT or some of the other ones that exist, and engage it to be able to generate some of these prompts or some of these interpretations of what you've fed into the AI. And it takes some of these tools, because they're so fast, we tend to not want to delve deep into what is going to be generated. So I think it has more responsibility on the shoulders of who is prompting to do more due diligence in engaging the AI system and making it. That's the best thing now, is to have an understanding of where you are heading. So you make the system to be able to give you as close to what you want as possible in terms of the prompts and all. And you could also come up with some of this yourself and engage with some of these chatbots and some of these other AI research tools, and get what you can. If it's not possible to get what you want exactly, then I think the next step is to be able to use our traditional tools to work on some of these things. But generally, what I've seen from my experience is, when you fed the AI pictures, you fed it context and research material, and engage it over time, you'll be able to generate a concise prompt that can be able to generate what you want exactly. And that takes a bit more time, instead of the generic generate this for me based on this, just maybe a very, very straightforward prompt, if you're not getting the results that you want. So it is, if you have ChatGPT on your phone and you're thinking of or on your computer, and I think you already have an idea of where you are heading, this is what you want. It is when you do not have an idea of where you're going to with your design or with what you're conceptualizing, that AI can toss one left and right, and the results, you find yourself generating thousands of iterations of a particular idea, and you're not satisfied with any of them. So it is important that we do our due diligence and stay grounded with the software to make sure that it gets what we want, by feeding it pictures, feeding it context, anchoring it on exactly with the language and all what we want, and I'm sure it will generate something close. Or if not, we'll have to engage some of our traditional tools to be able to come up with something that communicates what we want. I don't know, architect Joseph, I don't know if you're an architect, but what do you think about this?
No, I certainly think that what you're saying, it makes sense. You know, I'm not an architect, more so I'm just a designer. I'm also, studying to be a planner. So just because I'm very much intrigued by Afrocentric architecture, and I do a lot of sketches, I'm trying just to hone that craft, in light of what Mr. Wende said about little by little, you grow and you show that art off. That's what I'm just trying to perfect in terms of my craft. So it does make sense. I guess now at this point, it's just for me to apply and practice in order to become better at it. Because as I said, I've used ChatGPT a few times. I was never one who knew that it's used in that way or mid-journey, but through seeing some of the Afrocentric artwork I've seen on Instagram, it seems that this is now just where things are headed. So it makes sense. Just I'll put it into practice now, see how it goes.
Very good. Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you, Elaine, Joseph. Thank you for the question and for the very detailed answer to our presenter, architect Favour Azoji.
Yeah, thanks for the favor.
The complications, I wanted to just, because we're going to have to we'll have to wrap up very soon. I wanted to just quickly add a few comments and thank you, Osayuki, for putting up our next BAOBAB that's coming up in September. We'll be looking at smart cities in African context. Town planner Shaibu is also here. He asked one of the amazing questions today. So we're looking forward to hearing the town planning perspective on Afrocentric design. So you all please tune in next month, last Tuesday at 6 o'clock for his talk. For our present speaker, all the points he raised are very, very, very crucial. What we learned at CPDI Africa over these last 10, actually 20 years, has been that the hard work still has to be done by us Africans. We still have to research and document who we are. If we don't do that, then AI is not going to have authentic information to pull from to give us the quality designs that I think we're still going to have to sit down and say, is this what we agree is African architecture, right? If I'm saying that I want to create something that is Igbo-centric, right? So what our presenter did today was he put in elements from different cultures and gave us some designs. What if he wanted to do something that was specifically Igbo? Does AI, does the internet have enough information on traditional Igbo architecture and how contemporary Igbo people live today, so that it can merge the two and respond to his prompts appropriately and give us architecture that is truly Igbo-centric or truly Edo-centric, and we can go on and on. If we don't do the homework, AI is still going to just kind of like jump around. I love what our presenter showed today. I love those designs. I've been following him on LinkedIn. I love what he's doing. But when you begin to dig deeper, can AI actually tell us that, yes, this is representing the culture? I see the image, but culturally, is the image really responding to how Igbos live or how Yorubas live or Zulus live, right? So we have to do the work. And that's one of the benefits that came out of the competitions that we did. The architects had to do the work. And that's the only reason why the architecture ended up being successfully Afrocentric, right? So I implore all of us that are on here, whatever ethnic group you're from, do your research and feed it into AI so that when you are creating a design that's representing your identity, it passes the test. And when any architect anywhere in the world wants to create a design that reflects your culture, what AI puts out for them passes the test, right? We still have to do the work. I think we have 3 minutes left before 7:30. I'd like to appreciate everybody once again. Architect Favour, if you want to say maybe a parting word if there's no other questions. And also Osayuki, I know you'll take us out at the last minute. But Favour, last word from you.
Thank you once again for everyone that joined in, for the questions, for giving me an opportunity to speak on this topic. I will appreciate if after this program has ended, we are able to put out stuff on social media and everything, what we can, that's it. That's where it is, like whether promoting another person or doing our own body of work and trying to share it, because it's in our silence that some of these concepts get ignored. So I'll implore that if we can, try to use some of these systems, try to ask questions, try to take pictures, try to do some of the research that is necessary and put it out. There is a community that is hungry for things like this, to reconnect with our roots, and they will eventually find you. So maybe one of the things about social media now is maybe not getting as much attention as you want, and you feel like your work is not as relevant. But eventually the people will come in. Also, we must not end on social media. We could also create some of these resources as research papers and as books or as photo albums, and help flood the media space with these ideas so that we can sensitize the people that these things work and these things are interesting, they're amazing, and that's where our future is heading. So thank you very much, everyone.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Architect. Thank you everyone for coming in today. It was a beautiful pleasure to have you here. Last words would be nowistic architecture. Yes. For us to create futuristic architecture, we need to remember.
Oh, sorry, UK, we lost you. Okay, we'll give him a second to come back. If it doesn't come back in a second, we might have to go. Okay. But I think what he was talking about was nowistic architecture, and Chibueze, if you remember what he was saying about nowistic.
Yes, he was saying we can't create the architecture of the future without doing the work today. So what we can do with the tools we have on ground, and linking it with our culture, heritage, and our continent is what will inform our future, and how Afrocentric architecture is seen moving forward, and how the future interprets the body of work that is available. If we are not nowistic architects or designers or researchers, the future, this information will erode quite quickly. So I think that's where he was heading with that.
On point, perfect. That's exactly what he said. Thank you for the great recap. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We'll free you all to enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. We look forward to seeing you all next month, and definitely when Architect Chibueze comes back to do part 2, which will be loaded. We look forward to seeing you all and learning a lot. Again, everybody, please take time to represent your culture. Do the research like he said, and put that into AI so that AI can represent us well. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see you all next time. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.